So Liquid just played their first game of their new lineup against VP. And on Dust 2, I want to show you this game where they have some really solid reads and they do some great plays, but I really think they get bailed out more than anything else by their star power and just some great fragging at the right times from players like JKS, as well as obviously Twistzz and Naf. Now, Pisseron is a great example of that because they get a good read on where VP is all in tunnels, but they lose a couple of kills, then they lose another one. JKS, I mean, maybe he should be getting one there, but it's a tough situation once you don't hit that first shot. And then you've got Naf and Twistzz 2v3, but there's only 10 seconds on the clock, so VP have to rush the bomb plant. Twistzz hit the nice first shot and the second one, and then Naf jumping up on the new boxes will finish off Jame to pick up the round win. But heading into round 2, you actually won't see Liquid being saved here. It's very interesting. The last like 4 teams I've seen on Dust 2 run essentially this exact setup where it's 3B, 2A, one guy is just outside long doors, and one guy is covering cat. Now, in theory, you definitely want this guy to have a smoke. I feel like if you're going to play 3B, you can still have Ultimate throw the long door smoke for his teammate, but you could drop him another one so he could smoke off cat when dropping back like that, but maybe there's a good reason they don't do that. However, in theory, you'd want this player, instead of being on cat, you'd want him car with an M4, but every other time I've seen this setup played, they have that player car with an M4, and the problem is if he dies, the whole round is completely destroyed, right? He dies, they pick up the M4 at car, you have no control of long, you've got a guy with an MP9 at long doors, there's just no way he's going to get anything done, and the round's completely over. But unfortunately, if he drops elevator, gets mollied into the open, and then loses the fight, the round is also kind of screwed regardless. So you're taking a big risk either way you go about it, and in this case, Liquid lose the anti-force buy on round 2, and Dust 2, to be fair, is one of the probably strongest maps for force buys on both sides, if we're being honest, but especially on T side. But I'm going to keep it real, I think Jame just didn't have a very good series in this one. I'm not sure how he did fragging wise. I think he actually might have ended with a decent kill count, but there's a lot of rounds that just end up with him missing shots and they end up losing because of it. And this is an example of a round they don't lose, but Jame is in tunnels with 30 HP. He will get the initial kill and then rotate back off. He's at 30 HP, by the way, because he got hit with the scout early round in middle. This is going to be a pretty easy VP round, right? They're going to make their way up cat. Ultimate hits a couple of shots, but eventually he's going to go down. And although Liquid have a chance in this round, it's not going to go their way. And about now, I believe Twistzz is going to end up dying in a second here. And no, it's actually Nafly that dies in middle. And then Jame, instead of rotating back to long, he's going to rotate back to mid and peek out top middle, which he ends up just giving an op to Liquid. And sometimes it can be very hard to get an op in any case on CT side if you lose pistol or you lose second round. But if you look at their money right now, Ultimate would have the option of op no armor or no op at all. And a lot of teams will go no op, and then you have no op for a long period of time. But when you look at what VP do in response, they actually, Jame bought an op again, but then sold it so he could go for a Tech 9 so they could go for a B rush, which is actually a great play. I think if you know you're playing against an op, you have that smoke towards door, but it's a little bit worse of a play if Naf is just going to pick up 2 instant kills on your B rush and you're not really in that great of a spot after that. Liquid have a pretty solid retake, but they don't have infinite utility, and they do have VP in some pretty solid spots. Now, the one thing that I thought was hilarious here is actually Fame drops his AK over to Jame because he wants Jame to jump up window and he can play with the AK, but Jame doesn't drop him the Tech 9 back over, so Fame just is sitting here with a Glock. So he's just not in the greatest position ever. But it's going to be on Liquid. They're just going to have to land some shots here. And Jame from window picks up the first one. And they're actually going to make this very competitive as Liquid just aren't in great positions to go for trades there. And then the players' doors aren't quite ready. When Twistzz dies, they have to wait for Ultimate to swing in again. And Jame just hit some really, really nice shots and almost makes it not matter at all that Fame had a Glock and was just hiding. One of the things about Liquid is if Yakindar can kind of come back to form, even in the form he was in when he joined Liquid. I believe he joined Liquid in 2021, or was it 2022? When he first joined Liquid, he was still in pretty solid form, and if he could regain that form currently, I think Liquid would be a really star-stacked roster because Twistzz and Naf are both, of course, amazing in general, and if you have that aggressive entry player, you can make that work really effectively, even if Ultimate doesn't turn out to be this kind of like insanely good player. If he's just a solid opper, kind of like a Halzerk level average top 10 opper, I think you could could see Liquid do insanely well, especially if JKS does well on top of that. And JKS in this series, he has some missteps. I think he makes some plays that he probably would take back if he could, but he also has some really nice plays as well, and that's kind of what you expect when you're looking at a player coming off of a long break. But when we look at this round here, Ultimate gonna utilize the boost. There's a molly down and then a flash from his team for him to get up here. But one thing is Electronic knows that boost is happening, so they're actually going to use a one-way nade. And from Ultimate's POV, it's actually kind of interesting. You can't really see him peek through that nade. It clearly seems to be the intent of that nade. He doesn't even adjust his aim at all, and that ends up with Electronic getting a kill. And I've been a fan of the one-way nades and like saying people should be trying one-way nades for a really long time. FaZe is the only team in CSGO that was really doing it. But one of the things Liquid's doing on this other side is they've got this smoke thrown by Fame from tunnels. Naf's going to be able to see over it. And because Twistzz was able to hold on to his smoke for so long, now you've got this really kind of awful situation that VP is left in. They got the kill onto Ultimate earlier, but now they have 2 people outside B and 2 people tunnels, but Doors is smoked off. And they're going to really kind of mess up the timing here. Naf is going to get this first kill on the player swinging in tunnels, then the second kill onto Norbert, and then Twistzz is now just sitting here, but nobody's run in through window or doors yet. Electronic is looking the wrong direction, and then although Flit is going to be able to get both kills, there's not enough time for them to actually plant the bomb. So JKS wins the round, although he dies after time. And by the way, that's why I was saying the op wasn't necessarily relevant, because they end up losing it a couple of rounds later, but maybe that round goes completely differently if they have different weaponry, because they spent more money trying to get that op earlier. Now, basically what Liquid have been doing in most of these round opens is a really heavy long play, and you saw it in the previous round. VP were actually going for an aggressive long take and canceled because they heard 3 players from Liquid at long. So this time around, they try and adjust by going quickly up cat. And JKS is actually in position here, but he gets kind of caught off guard on the timing. So one of the things that I really like about having a Kindar, by the way, is these sorts of plays. Now, these can go wrong, but you do need a player making those sorts of plays sometimes. Otherwise, you end up being a little too passive, I feel like. It's just easy to play against. But JKS on the other side, he throws a smoke towards cat as soon as that contact is made, or maybe even earlier. Then he nades, but then he peeks out before the smoke lands. And maybe he's thinking the smoke is going to bloom before the nade, so he's going to put out the smoke anyways. But if he just waited for that smoke, it feels like he'd be in a much better position to actually hold on. And if he survives, he has to rotate very close by, and this ends up being, you know, a much more effective hold. Instead, you're going to rely on Yakindar to double tap Norbert here, and he's going to pull that off. Then he will end up dying in the flank, but one of the things that happens is that Jame gets this kill, and then Naf doesn't immediately peek the trade. Naf actually delays, and because of the new boxes, Jame really has to worry that both Liquid players could go up around over on the platform. And that means Jame needs to go aggressive and try and take back that space, and Naf catches him on that timing intentionally to take him down, and then the kill on the Flit as well. So when I say Jame didn't have that great of a series, you can either put this one on Twistzz having some really interesting movement, or you can put this one on Jame just kind of not holding the angle the way he's expecting. I mean, he's really expecting someone to cross into lower, so he's not expecting Twistzz to peek out on him like that. On the other hand, Twistzz did crouch to really kind of dodge that shot, so maybe that's on Twistzz more than Jame, but there were some kind of whiffs from Jame throughout the series, but there was some really nice shots from Twistzz, and this is an example of that. Now, one of the things Liquid is doing really effectively in this series is they're constantly changing looks. I mean, a couple of rounds ago, they opened 3 long, then rotated a third player to B, and then rotated that third player back over to A later on in the round. They're really not letting VP set up and get any idea of the setup that Liquid are in. Now, probably VP know that there's a double op setup, and double op setups are one of the hardest things to deal with when it comes to Dust 2. In this game, I mean, to be honest, Twistzz, when an opper is hitting shots to the level of Twistzz, which is not a phrase you expect to necessarily hear, but Twistzz in this series is hitting some unbelievable op shots, and when someone's hitting shots like that, sometimes it's like there's almost very little you can do. But on one side, you've got Liquid going for very aggressive control of tunnels. They push players off very quickly. Twistzz is pretty comfortable in this angle, And VP, they tried to attack Cat last round. This time around, they're going to try and attack Long. They actually catch the timing right after Twistzz moves away, so it's actually really well timed. But JKS and Pit gets some support from Twistzz, gets 2 kills, and then this is one of the really nice shots that Twistzz actually hits. I mean, Fame is not an easy target there by any means, and actually Twistzz hits that shot as well. He just hits him through the corner of the wall. Doesn't get the kill, but Ultimate will finish him off. So I didn't want to say this game was too much on the star power for Liquid because they're also just putting themselves in really effective setups as well. For example, this is the first time they're actually going to play a heavy mid setup in this game, and it goes kind of poorly, in fact. Ultimate and Naf both die, but then Yakindar is in a great position here, and I want to note that JKS is pushed into Long off of this information. So JKS is setting himself up fairly aggressively to react once Yakindar actually makes contact, which Yakindar does here, and that will draw, this is Norbert from top middle, that's going to draw him over because Yakindar stays alive for so long, and then the flank comes in from JKS to actually turn this very quickly into a 2v2. Then you have Twistzz, who was already on A, will make it over in time, and this becomes kind of awkward because I believe they actually end up hearing Fame towards T-spawn. They hear him moving around, so they actually try and get hyper aggressive on the other side to try to take down Flit, who they knew had the bomb, which they will immediately do. And then you end up in a 1v1 with Twistzz, who you know, this is kind of an attempted outplay. He hits a really nice nade onto Fame. He ends up giving up the bomb, thinking, okay, maybe Fame's going to go B. If he goes B, Twistzz kind of instantly wins this because he can hear it. I actually think this is a really smart play. You put yourself in a very good situation. However, in this case, he tries to chase down Fame onto the bomb site, which means Fame knows where he's coming from. He doesn't hit the instant shot, and then Fame's just in a really good position to prevent Twistzz from jumping back up, and he wins the round. But I mean, percentage-wise, I feel like that play from Twistzz is really effective. In a lot of different plays that Fame makes there, Twistzz is going to be in a really good spot. So we have yet another second round force. This time James went for the mid peak, got himself a kill, and then rotated back over to A. And this is a pretty tough spot to be in for Liquid because you've already gone down a player, although they did get a kill back onto Norbert at long corner, which gives them long control. But still, do you move up long where there could be a scout on plat? If you go back B, the scout could be on back B plat, and that's going to be pretty bad for you as well. This time they try and go up long and split from Cat. And they're really in a bad spot here. I mean, if you look at their health, Twistzz on 11, JKS, their whole team has been tagged. Every single one of them has been tagged. So James basically has an op here, but that's not going to go that well for him because Yakindar just swings out with a Mac 10 and somehow just instant double tags him. Honestly, VP was in a pretty reasonably good spot there. If they could have finished off a couple of the tags that James got, that would have been great. Instead, he just gets taken down by Yakindar. But that's a round where Liquid certainly could have lost that, but they end up bringing it back and winning it pretty effectively with 4 players alive. Although, you know, 4 players alive kind of understates how close that round was given their HP. I mean, I think they have like 100 HP combined, right? So I actually almost skipped this round, but it does get really interesting despite this being an MP9 and some P250s basically, right? And a 5.7. Like this is not a buy that you would expect VP to do very well in, but VP have like some redeeming moments in this series, absolutely, and this is definitely one of them. Fame will get this initial kill onto Ultimate. Ultimate doesn't have a ton of support there, but you know, it is what it is. Fame gets the initial kill, gives himself a nice love tap, dropping into CT spawn, as everyone loves to do. But that kill from Fame does exactly the job he wants it to do, which is makes Liquid think that VP are likely in a fairly normal A setup. Right now, if Fame died here, this setup is going to seem stupid, but because he didn't die instantly, and he's continuing to apply pressure, he didn't just get that kill and fall back and hide, which is something you might do if you're solo on A. He's continuing to apply pressure, which makes Liquid really rethink what's going on here and question if they do want to go up on A. They're going to have to waste time and utility doing so, and that'll allow VP to have a decent rotate later on. Then, of course, it helps when you also hit a really nice shot onto Yakindar. I mean, Liquid is searching out, I think what they want to know here is this an A stack? And so they're trying to search it out, but one of the downsides of doing that is when that happens, right? When it's not an A stack, but this guy on elevator just gets a bunch of kills. Not only does he get 2 kills, but he dinks JKS for a nice little 50 damage as well. But because of the way this round played out, you do have Liquid where they basically know the situation. They know this is a 4-man rotate from B, and they've got this one little flash from JKS that's going to make the difference. Tossing it up into the palm tree there is actually really effective. Extremely hard to see. He tosses it up basically once his teammate made contact. Once Naf made contact, he tossed that up. Unfortunately, that meant that a couple of players like accidentally dodged that because they were looking the other direction shooting at Naf, but it's a smart idea. And then Twistzz, this is actually very reminiscent of one of the most famous clutches of all time, by the way, which is against Liquid, I believe. Simple against Liquid, 1v4 from this exact position. I think Simple's was a little cleaner in terms of the last couple shots. I mean, Simple just like one taps everybody. I think it's in like my top 5 clutches of all time because I did a video on that. Very effective spot, especially when you're dealing with pistols. Twistzz hit the quick shot on the guy up top, which was what really matters. You prevent them from getting onto plat, which is what really screws with you. But a nicely played round from Twistzz, and that's what I'm talking about. I mean, that round was disintegrating, and Twistzz pulled it back with a 1v3. That's, I mean, not like an unbelievable clutch. It's not like he was in a terrible position, but it was a one where I think, you know, I mean, Hooksy's losing that. Hooksy's not winning that one, probably. Hard to say, though. I'm not sure how takedown the bomb was, but into the first gun round, that's another, is this a miss? Is this a miss? Is this a miss, or is it just, like, unlucky? Did Ultimate just kind of, like, dodge that shot by accident? I think this is a miss. I think that's just straight up a miss. And so when you look at this game, I mean, you see VP got 2-0'd by Liquid, but Liquid, I don't know if their stars were necessarily overperforming, but I think for sure James doesn't usually miss as many shots as James missed here. And look, he's at the top of the scoreboard. He's absolutely had some effective rounds. I mean, the second round force on CT side with the Scout was a really effective round. He really gave his team a chance to win that one. But there's been some crucial shots that James has missed that have ended in him dying as an opening kill a couple of times, given the op away on third round, and this one, which would have given them a 5v4 in a round where they don't necessarily have, I'm not sure if they had the most utility ever, right? It's kind of like a first gun round for a CT side. If you're getting an op, you probably don't have the most utility, although I wasn't fully keeping track, and that means that, you know, they lose a lot of the control they could have, and a lot of the idea of like, okay, well now at least they know they that Liquid have an op, but that means they're kind of scared of the op, right? They have to worry about which angles they're peeking and what information they're giving away. They will end up actually, and this is the advantage now that you have with this kind of like with this cat boost box, you can go for these like triple up on cat plays, and you can play this where you're like kind of 4 players towards a site so much easier and so much more effectively that can prevent these crosses, prevent the T side from getting into good positions, and prevent, you know, make yourself a little less worried about that cat flank, because sometimes you had these players and they'd have to be like chained to watching the cat flank, but now because you can add an extra player onto that cat hold, you can have 2 players kind of worried about site a little more easily, right? But in this case, it's a 2v3 retake, or a 3v2 retake for the CTs. Ultimate's trapped on car, and the flank from James is just going to finish it off. So you have a pretty interesting round here that actually, even though Twistzz is going to get a 2k, I don't really want to call this like individual, you know, skill that's saving this round, because I think this is more that Twistzz is set up into a good spot. But opening up, this is something you'll see very often. You know, Naf's right side doors here, listening for the setup that VP are in. You've got Ultimate here. I'm actually not 100% sure if this player can hear them on cat or not. I kind of feel like they should be able to, but maybe not. Regardless, you've got him up, you know, they're holding outside long. They're ready to go long or cat, depending on the situation. Yakindar is solo in tunnels, clearing things out, and he's actually willing to get very aggressive in towards mid doors as well, and potentially take this fight, but he won't push all the way out of mid doors, which is probably a good idea. Now, on the other side, you've got JKS, who's going to throw this smoke that will land here. And the point of this smoke is it's going to break up the setup that VP are in very specifically. It's going to push James. You know, these types of setups, oftentimes you have an opper here and a rifler here or a rifler here. So you're playing kind of a bait and switch setup. And the point is this smoke should try and push them off of that. Then you've got a flash from Yakindar out of lower, and Twistzz will swing off of this immediately through the molly, catch Ultimate, or catch Electronic rather, fully blinded, and then he'll catch James falling back as well. So, I mean, Twistzz does this on his own. There's nobody near him. But, I mean, I think Hooksy probably could have done that also, right? Like, I mean, if Hooksy could have done it, and I think he could have, That's you know, it's not necessarily star power. However, Twistzz can see Norbert here. He can just straight up see him, and he doesn't realize it. So Norbert just stands up and kills him, which is rough. That's a rough one. But if you look at the setup that Liquid's in, I don't think they were like that. I don't think the setup is meant to like chase up Cat. Well, it definitely is an option. You had 2 players behind Twistzz, but you've still got Yakindar all the way back over here. And this actually means that he can go for a really effective lurk to stop the retake. But I think it's clear at this point that most likely VP's saving, so he's already just going for exits. However, he gets a little unlucky that he gets spotted out by Fame just jumping in the backside before he ever actually has a chance to shoot, which means he's traded pretty quickly. But this is still a round that's going to go directly to Liquid. Like, again, I think that Liquid, a lot of pivotal rounds got carried by, you know, players making big plays at the right moments, but they also made some very solid calls, and I don't think you can, you know, you got to give them credit for that as well, especially if you go back over to Ancient, which went deep into OT. And I feel like once you get deep into OT, that's where, like, you know, you kind of often get exposed for having a bit of a limited playbook, and Liquid were looking really solid. But off the pause, Liquid had B spawns, so they're going to go for the B play. Liquid, you know, it's actually interesting. Valve updated spawns on so many maps and then added Dust 2 back, which is like the only map that you really play heavily spawn based to begin with. But they've got Ultimate posted up with an op, so he knows if they've crossed left side or not. And Fame is going for this play, which is a great play. You can sometimes get caught by it though. However, with the jump up, and this is the jump up I actually talked about a couple of times earlier, where I saw players toss that smoke and then jump back in a closet, and I was like, wait, hold on, isn't it just better to just jump on this box? This is why jumping on this box is really effective. A lot of flashes that teams throw will land a little too deep to catch you because they'll land in closet. You're in a great spot that even if they know that you jump back there, it's still hard to deal with. And if you've got a second player near sight, it's going to be really easy for him to help you out. However, in this case, sometimes you can get kind of screwed by waiting for the flash, because you know what happens. I think Ultimate just, oh no, he dodged that flash. Okay, I thought he was just clearing closet. He actually straight up dodges that flash, which is really, really, really solid, because that flash doesn't hang for that long, but he dodges that flash, spins back around, and then twists in mid. Because of that pressure by Ultimate on the site where he kills Flit and Jane, he's able to get this lurk off that pretty much secures the round. However, you know, you've got Electronic in decent position to try something. There's so many smokes down. He's got a bit of an ability to catch Liquid off guard, but Naf with a quick trade, and you've got 12 for Liquid. So in what is the final round, Yakindar is going to go for the play out long. James full blind still gets the kill. That's part of why that play is so strong. Even if you get blinded, good chance you can still time that shot to get the frag. Puts VP into a 5v4. And then, you know, you're looking at what Liquid are going to go for. They've got some options, but not the most options ever. And doesn't help, of course, that Ultimate got tagged on Cat in the molly. But, you know, they're just going to look for a Cat play, not really trying to fake. They're just going to go for the exec and not really give VP any time to rotate if they can help it. And Twistzz key play, he's feeling pretty good about this point. You know, he's 20-9, probably feeling pretty good in this game. He gets ahead of that smoke, so they don't really have to worry too much about it. You know, that is a bit of a risky play. Norbert could have been close up, but the timing is that Twistzz got into the right spot at the right time. Then they're just going to go for the exec with flashes, but Twistzz will get ahead of the flashes. James is not going to get blinded here, but he's going to miss the shot and then get finished off. And then Norbert, I mean, he's got an MP9, but it's usually you've got a second player on A in a setup like this, so he's obviously going to get cleared the majority of the time there. And that puts them into a 3v3 with some decent utility from the players on plat as well. And I'm actually not certain this is the final round of the game, but no, now I am. And Liquid win it. So, you know, so it is a pretty solid result from Liquid. I mean, I was a little bit worried, you know, playing as Virtus Pro. It's a team that sometimes can be tough to deal with a new roster. They can kind of wear you down, and especially if they get the opening kills, they like to take sometimes map control and then kind of hold on to it and wait for you to walk back into them. And Liquid feels like a team that if they were losing those entries a little more often, they would do exactly that, and, you know, those aggressive players would end up getting punished for those types of situations. But in this case, Liquid was getting most of the entries, and they weren't getting too aggressive at the wrong times. They were getting aggressive at the right moments to bring things back, which put them into pretty good positions. And then when needed, they were definitely pulling off, you know, some individual plays as well. So to some extent, that's a good result against VP. I probably would have expected Liquid to lose this, to be honest, even though VP hasn't been the most consistent team of all time recently. It also wasn't VP at their peak performance. You know what I mean? It was VP where James, even on Ancient, and I'm looking at the stats, James is 48 kills, third highest kills in the game. Only players higher are Twistzz and Naf with 2 and 3 more kills, 51 and 50. Even on Ancient, I saw him miss some crucial shots, honestly, that kind of gave rounds away to some extent. And he did the same on Dust 2. Again, he got some shots back. It's not like he had a terrible series. There's like 7 or 8 shots, I think, this series. If James hits them, then there's a very good chance that VP win this instead of losing it.